Let me begin by looking at this issue of enormous consequence in a broader context. One of the points that we don't make often enough is that in our country we have by far the highest rate of childhood poverty of any other country on earth. And last week, Chairman Harkin did a very good thing, something that's unusual, is he brought somebody from the OECD to us. So we're not just talking about Iowa versus Vermont. More importantly, we're talking about the United States of America versus the rest of the world. And what Mr. Schleicher told us, an expert in education from the OECD, is not good news. What he is saying is that in terms of the number of our kids who graduate high school, we are now behind every other country in the OECD other than New Zealand, Spain, Turkey, and Mexico. In terms of the percentage of our young people who graduate college, we've gone from 2nd to 14th in the world between 1995 and 2005. He didn't talk about, but we all know we have more people in jail than any other country on earth. And I suspect that many of those people are high school dropouts.
Almost all of them.
Furthermore, and an issue that I want to touch on, I don't know how we can expect kids to do well in school if the first 4 or 5 years of their lives they don't have the intellectual or emotional needs addressed. And today, our child care system, and I raise this because it has to be dealt with, is nothing less than an unmitigated disaster. We are still operating like we were in the 1950s, where Dad went out to work and Mom stayed home with the kids. Well, let me just mention to people that is not the reality anymore. Well over 70% of women are out in the workforce. Now, how in God's name in my state to get good child care costs $350 a week? How do you pay that? A, if you're a single person, it's impossible. And B, if you're a working couple, it is very, very difficult. So I think that in needs of our priorities, we got to get our act together and start changing our priorities. If we talk about family values, if we talk about children being the hope and the future of this country, we have got to pay attention to the youngest and most vulnerable among us. We need a revolution in childcare. Every kid in this country, as is the case in many European countries. I know some of my Republican friends denounce Europe. Well, I'm not so sure. They have quality childcare virtually in every country for their kids. College education is free in many cases. I don't think that's such a bad idea myself. So I would like to ask you, Mr. Secretary, I want you to talk about childcare, talk about making college more affordable, talk about extended education, which means strong after-school programs, Saturday morning programs, and summer programs, mixed recreation and academic.
Thank you so much, Senator, for your passion and for your leadership. I think we have a president who intuitively gets this, and this 0 to 8 agenda is hugely important. If we want children to be college and career ready, graduating from high school, they need to be kindergarten ready.
Exactly.
For our children to be kindergarten ready, it's not just pre-K 3 and 4, it's birth. It's birth through 5 and really birth through 8.
Do you agree that our current system is a disaster?
We have a long, long way to go. We have a long, long way to go. I think some children are served well, but what we see, it's fascinating, Senator, is we look at the data, we see sort of kindergarten through 8th grade, we see students learning, but we see this stubbornly large achievement gap. And what I keep saying in education centers, we have to stop playing catch-up. We're all playing catch-up. How do we stop playing catch-up? We level the playing field for children entering
Get back, I know there's a lot to talk about. I don't have a lot of time. Get back to child care. How are we going to revolutionize child care in America?
I think we have to make sure, and again, the President's proposed almost $10 billion in this Early Learning Challenge Fund for the next decade, historic investments. We want to work with HHS on this. We want to make sure that we dramatically increase access and we dramatically increase quality. If this is glorified babysitting, it doesn't get us where we need to go. If children are entering kindergarten with their literacy skills intact, with their socialization skills intact, ready to read, ready to learn.
And to do that, you're going to have to pay child care workers commensurate salaries to what we pay teachers. Is that right?
You have to increase investment there. You have to increase training. You have to focus on outcomes. There's so much that we have to do. But yes, we have to invest, and we have to make sure, to your point, that the most disadvantaged children have access to the opportunities that they need.
Would you argue that a child care and I don't know if that's the right term, but specialists who work with young children are as important in our society as college professors? I mean, you know, we say college professors a big deal, and yet you work with little children who are 2 or 3, you're shaping their lives. You leave that job to get a job at McDonald's for a pay increase.
Anyone who works with our children in this country is undervalued, undersupported, under-resourced, and we need to increase those.
Well, I look forward to working with you. I don't know how we're going to make great advances in elementary and secondary education unless we address child care as well.
And again, we have a proposal, you know, the President has this unprecedented proposal on the table, almost $10 billion over the next decade for an early learning challenge fund.
Is that tied up in this reconciliation package?
It's part of the higher education.
We're going to lose that, aren't we? So we're going to have to rethink that.
I hope not. I know this is being discussed, you know, by the hour and by the minute, and I hope it stays. If it doesn't, we need to find another vehicle.
Okay, good. Thank you.